What's up, everybody? In the Black Comic Lords family, we are back again for another dope episode of Lightning Strikes, our recap show of the Black Lightning series, starring none other than Mr. Brandon Thomas, writer extraordinaire. How you doing, bro?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
All right, I'm cooler than a fan, man. I'm cooler than a fan. Let's jump right in.
All right.
Why don't you give us a recap? Why am I here? You need to be over there. All right. Give us a recap of what happened so far.
Well, so far, Black Lightning and his youngest daughter, who is codenamed Lightning, are leading a metahuman crisis intervention team that's going out into the world and helping metahumans whose powers are activating and helping them kind of deal with the destruction that these activations often cause and the kind of havoc that they're bringing to these people's personal lives and families with these powers and abilities that they did not want. So in the process of that, Jefferson makes Jefferson finds out that one of his own family members is keeping a big secret from him and everyone else. His oldest daughter, Anissa, codenamed Thunder, her powers are back after the events of Absolute Power when Amanda Waller stole everyone's powers away, but they've come back wrong. And now she and her powers are out of control, and they are trying to deal with that kind of family drama in the middle of this kind of larger story that's happening in the DC universe. And our last issue ended with a superhuman assault on the Southside Heights branch of Steelworks, which is run by John Henry Irons and his niece, Natasha Irons. And they have just been attacked by a group of metahumans called the Masters of Disaster that do not appreciate their intervention in kind of metahuman affairs, and they're altering and kind of controlling of people's powers. And that's where the second issue left off, with Natasha Irons and Lightning going into a big battle, and that's where we begin.
All right. So let's jump into our next issue. Issue number 3.
We've got our two covers. Got our main cover. Then we have Lightning. She has her spotlight cover. That's by I believe Joshua Sway did that cover.
Yeah, both these covers are beautiful.
Fantastic.
Fico Asio, people are just raving about his art on your book.
Oh, it's amazing. That's why.
I think we just saw Kanan White popped in, artist extraordinaire, GOAT himself. What's up, Kanan? Welcome to the show. He says the art is amazing. Trying to get on one of those covers. Oh man.
Trying to get us extended so you could you have some covers to get on.
All right. So here's the first page.
Yeah.
You promised us some treats in this issue, and you certainly delivered. I love this page. It starts off with Lightning. You see her talking on the phone. You don't know who she's talking to at first. And she's like asking the question, my dad's cool and everything. I get it. He's a superhero. He's got a lot of swag. I used to have some hate, but I get it now. I've seen him in action. He's kind of cool. I admit that. But one thing I don't like about being a superhero is all the fighting. What do you guys think? And then it pops to this page, and you're getting these reactions from Cyclone, Signal, Blue Beetle, Aquaman Jr., Stargirl, Kid Flash. You basically got the Young Justice League right here.
I was trying. There were actually more when we started. There were 9. There were 9 slots. But
who else was on the team?
I was just kind of crowding FICO out of the page, so we had to cut it down, and then we had to get approvals on a couple of characters. I won't tell you, I mean, you'll know who, but I actually tried to see if we could get a milestone character for this, but not
static.
Not
It was static, wasn't it? It was static. It was static, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was static.
Of course it was static. It's the most logical.
I tried.
It was the most logical one. All right.
But I was still happy with how it came out.
No, still, this is incredibly dope.
Yeah, thank you.
The only person I wouldn't even say that. I was gonna say the only person I'd add to the roster might be Robin, but you got Duke Thomas. He represents the Batman.
There was a version of this that did have a Robin on it. I don't know if I should say which one, but there was a Robin on, like, in the original draft. FICO actually drew this page. He didn't draw this page first because we were still figuring out who could actually appear on it. So he kind of drew some other sections first and then came back to this one.
Right.
I was still pretty. I was happy with how this page came out, and one of the things that FICO actually suggested, because we had a lot of questions like, should all of the characters be out of costume? Should all of them be in costume? And he came up with an idea that we could kind of mix and match, where you would have a couple that were in full costume and maybe one that, had their costume on, but like the mask off or the hood down. And then there were, characters that were completely out of costume. So it was a nice little mix and match and gave it a little more flavor. Like Kid Flash, I wanted someone to show up kind of like battle damage, like they had just been like in a big superhero fight and just barely made the call in time. So that ended up being Kid Flash, which works for him, for a lot of reasons. Just so.
Most of these characters here are quote unquote sidekicks of other characters. They might be legacy versions of previously existing characters. There's two characters I probably would have added to this roster. One natural one is already in this book, Natasha Irons. The other one would be maybe Teen Lantern. So you can have a Teen Lantern.
Okay, yeah. I'll tell you, Teen Lantern is that's a very protected character around the DC parts. So
why?
It's a long story, but they just are right now.
Huh.
Yeah. Huh. So that's what I mean. You can't just, I always, with the first draft, I just put in who I want. I'm just like, this is who I want, and then we'll see who we can actually get. And Natasha, we talked about her, but since she was in the big fight scene, it felt a little we wanted to kind of give that slot to someone else that didn't actually appear like in the story. So, just try to have someone else pop in whenever we can. But this was a fun moment. I really like this.
Any possibility this will be manifested in some type of book? This needs to be a thing. This needs to be a thing.
I hope so. We'll see. If Blacklightning continues for a little while longer, I'll have a little more space to kind of play with some of these things that we just kind of threw out. And this is cool, but we can't really delve into it right now. But if we continue on, or it turns into something that's kind of connected, then we can do something else with it.
Somebody just said Miss Martian. That's another one who could fit well on this roster.
Yeah, she would definitely fit.
Large. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good choice too.
Yeah.
All right. So we go from this to pure chaos, epic scale. And this is not look, each one of these books, you seem to have an epic battle scene.
I tried to.
Right? The last one you had, what was it, dinosaurs or something like that?
Yeah, well, there was a couple of things. There was the big monster in Hobbs Bay.
Yeah, it was the kaiju. It was the kaiju.
And lightning stopped. And then there was the dinosaurs at the airport. So I try to have a couple of big set pieces in every issue, especially when you're working with someone like FICO, where everything just looks amazing and gorgeous. So I really want to kind of maximize, his time, and also, just the pages. We only have 20 pages an issue. So I want to really try to find moments to allow him to really kind of stretch out and show off, and then, try to get out of his way as much as possible so you can see as much of his, great art as you can. So this was a great one. I love the fact that the arm of Natasha's suit is ripped off, which was actually in the script, but what wasn't in the script was Groundswell, who's the water character, actually standing on the arm.
Mm-hmm.
So she's actually standing on the arm and the hammer.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Yeah.
It's shadowed, but he put it in there. But that was something that actually wasn't in I had the arm being ripped off and kind of tossed aside was in the script, but he came up with this really cool idea to actually have her standing on it and, kind of have the hammer in the background. So it came out, fantastic. And then I said I wanted Lightning and Volcana like doing battle, like in the air above the kind of ground floor fight. So
that was my next question, is how, this is such a super detailed page. The fact that I've read this particular issue several times, and I didn't realize that Groundswell was standing on the arm with the hammer there, shows you how incredibly detailed FICO was in this. Every time you look at this, you'll see something you didn't see before.
See something else. Yeah, like I said, that was not in the script, but he threw that in there, and it looks, fantastic. So to me, the struggle is always trying to put the least amount of kind of dialogue and captioning like on the page. Like even now, I'm kind of like, maybe I could have taken out like 2 or 3 of these balloons, but I'm always trying to do my best, trying to let him kind of show off as much as possible and let people really see everything that he's doing. So,
and shout out to Natasha Irons. She's got one arm torn off. That arm is exposed to the elements, and she's still battling like a soldier. That's incredible.
Yeah. Great moment.
Let's talk about Groundswell. So, one of the things that we talk about a lot of times in the space, particularly when it comes to Black characters, is a lot of these characters don't have a very good rogues gallery. It's not even a Black character thing. It's in general.
Yeah.
With Marvel and DC, a lot of the main Marvel and DC characters have their rogues gallery. Spider-Man has his rogues gallery. Batman has his rogues gallery. The most well-defined heroes are ones that are defined by their villains, their rogues gallery. Blacklightning doesn't really have an extensive rogues gallery. We know Tobias Whale. We know Painkiller. Who else do we have?
I don't know if you count the 100.
That's kind of generalized.
Right.
Name.
It's not like a superhero kind of
villain. Right. So it helps to define the superhero by, how many rogues they have and the types of rogues. Groundswell has the potential to be a great nemesis to this Lightning family because it's electricity and water.
Yeah. Two things that do not mix.
They do not mix. So she's actually a great foil for their powers. I hope we will see more of her involved with the Pierce family in the future.
I hope so too. The thing is, what I'll try to stay off the soapbox too much, but the reason why
blackcomiclords, man, you can do as much soapbox.
Yeah. But I try not to go on and on. But anyway, it's essentially repetition. What happens is the big characters get sustained kind of coverage, if you were, and that's how they're able to build out rogues galleries in a way that a character like Black Lightning or even Aquaman, which I did some in the past, struggled with because they don't always have books. So like the character needs to have a book that is continuously in existence that will help to, give the creator space to actually, kind of create a rogues gallery and to keep, building that and to keep building the characters up through repetition. Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman are easy. They always have a book. They always have, someone that's working on reaching back to older kind of entries in the gallery and kind of polishing them up, giving them kind of like a new shine, kind of maybe a new perspective, and then introducing, new characters. So that's kind of why that happens. Like if if this Black Lightning book existed for 2 years, we could do all types of cool stuff, with the rogues gallery and leave more behind for the next person, for the next creator that comes up. But what happens is we only have 5 issues or you have 6 issues. And then after that, who knows how long, the character will go before they have another spotlight. Excuse me. So that's kind of how that happens.
All right. So during the midst of this battle, Lightning's in the battle with Volcana, and Natasha's battling Groundswell as we said before. But where's her sister Anissa? Anissa's hanging out with her mother Lynn, the scientist over at Steelworks.
Yes,
which is a cool tie-in. Lynn Stewart. 2 things about her. One, I need DC to make her the cousin to Jon Stewart, just to do it. They both have the last name. They're both Black. They must know each other because that's kind of the thing, right? So
yeah,
I think Lynn Stewart and Jon Stewart need to be cousins. They don't have to be brother and sister, but they should be cousins.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you can have that interconnectivity. I just thought that would be cool. But moreover, and I stand on this square, DC is one tweak power set away from making their own Fantastic Four. All they need to do is take advantage of the post-Absolute Power storyline, which was very good, and demonstrate that Lynn has powers now. Might have had a little delay getting activated, but Lynn has powers now as a result of Absolute Power, thus making all 4 members of the Pierce family superpowered. They have your own Fantastic Four, and they're Black. That would be dope, and it doesn't really take anything.
I agree with you, and I shouldn't say much more, but I do agree with you, and we'll see.
Have you at least talked to someone at DC about that?
Yes, very
All right.
recently.
I won't press you on it because I don't want any NDA violations, but I at least want to know that concept has at least been tossed around.
Very, very, very recently. So,
all right. I hope DC will do the right and logical thing.
We shall see.
Going back to what we see here, Lynn is with her daughter, and it's interesting. As the mother, you expect her to be protective and everything, and be like, you need to wear this ankle bracelet because your power's out of control. I need to watch over you, my daughter. But she's actually like, yeah, we might need to take that power bracelet off and throw you out there at some point because your sisters may not be doing too well. Your dad's busy. We'll keep you in reserve for now. I don't want you to risk anything, but we have these things over here at Steelworks that need to be protected. I might need your help. Just saying.
I will tell you, and I'll give the proper credit. This was an idea from Marquise, my editor. In the original draft of this story, Anissa doesn't take the bracelet off. And Marquise said, you know what? I know that we had this plan for how this was all supposed to go and, evolve, but maybe we should have her. Well, okay, I'm sorry, I said it wrong. In the original draft, her bracelet is damaged, kind of accidentally. But Marquise had the idea to make it intentional, to give Anissa a moment where she actually tried to kind of use these new powers to help her mother and, and help this kid, Isaac, who's running around with him. And it kind of goes bad. So it made her much more kind of active and ultimately kind of responsible for what happens later on when she loses control and her father, we're getting too far ahead, but yeah.
No, I agree with that decision because it being a hero has to be a conscious choice. Right. And so by having her remove it, she is making the conscious choice to become a hero, which is something your previous issue, she was showing some disdain about, in terms of, I don't want to be like my dad. I don't like my dad right now.
Right.
She doesn't want to be a superhero. So her removing it is like that step forward and getting over her chip on her shoulder and saying, I need to serve the greater good. So I thought that was a great choice.
No, it was a fantastic note. No, I mean, that's what the editors are there for. So, but initially in the first draft of this, it was kind of like an accident. Like the bracelet was damaged and then she had a little, power surge. But Marquise is like, let's actually have her take it off. Like, let's actually have her make the decision and try, and then it kind of goes wrong, and then that will, play into exactly, like the larger themes and issues in the story. So no, it was a great note for him, and it gave her a little moment where she was kind of trying to come back to herself and trying to kind of reassert some control, and it went fairly well. The aftermath didn't go so well, but in the moment, it was important for her.
So on the first page, we have this conversation where Jennifer is talking to the other young superheroes about, you know what, the drag about being I love helping people, but I hate all the fighting. The fighting is just very disdainful to me. And yet here she is fighting. She's taking on two superheroes at once. Look at the expression on her face.
Yeah.
The fact that she's got her fist curled back, she's, I don't know if you're watching this and you know anything about boxing, and you know that when you're throwing a punch, you're actually throwing it with your hip to a large extent. Your hip movement is where you get the power on your punch. And I love how Fico shows her hip completely turned when she's throwing this punch crossways. It shows that he really understands anatomy and fighting styles and stuff like that. I thought that was a nice touch.
You can really see the power in it from
you can. Yeah. You can. The body movement, the way her body is contorted, you would see the amount of power she put into that power punch, and have the electricity flaring on it. And then you've got,
it's another great panel.
It's another great panel. The man is doing storytelling visually, which I love to see.
Yeah.
All right. So this guy. The change of pace. For those that might have missed the last episode, explain who these two characters are.
All right. Well, on the left we have Josiah Power. Josiah Power was one of the stars of a previous superhero book called The Power Company, which was a team of superheroes that was kind of based around the concept of a law firm. So they had like partners and associates. So they took all of these kind of ideas about how like a law firm is kind of constructed, and they kind of grafted it onto this superhero frame. And Josiah Power ran the law firm and assembled the Power Company. And we haven't seen him in the main DCU in quite a while, and he's
Yeah.
making a big comeback. So there's a big kind of internal push inside DC right now to kind of revive the Power Company and turn it into a slightly different kind of like perspective than it had in the past. The original book was by I believe Kurt Busiek and Tom Grummett.
Yeah,
And
that's exactly what.
so we're using this Blacklightning series to kind of have the character appear a couple of times, make a couple of kind of key appearances to let you know that Josiah is back out in the world and he's like on a new mission, and that he wants Jefferson Pierce to be a big part of this new Power Company. So he's going to make a couple of appearances in Blacklightning, and then there's going to be a one-shot that releases in a couple of weeks that I believe is called like The Road to the Power Company, and then there is going to be another dedicated one-shot in April that spins out of that. So I get to kind of like set the table.
We're going to talk more. We're going to talk more about that later.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
then
so
the other gentleman on the right.
The other guy on the right is a Metropolis councilman by the name of Jay Harriman. He's actually an older character from the Jerry Ordway Superman run. This is like before the Triangle era started. Like, if you know, I don't know how familiar everyone is with 90s superhero comics, but Jay Harriman was part of a paramilitary group called the Sons of Liberty. And now we're taking the character and kind of refashioning him in kind of a more modern context, where that is still a part of his past, but he's tried to kind of leave it behind and kind of paint it over for people. And now he's trying to stand himself up as a kind of respectable, kind of power broker in Metropolis. And his big thing is that he hates metahumans, except for, one very specific one. And he believes they are nothing but trouble. And Amanda Waller was right. He made his kind of first appearance in this story in issue 2. And now he is back kind of verbally sparring with Josiah Power, who feels very, very differently about metahumans, and so he's pretty awful.
I'm getting a lot of January 6th paramilitary try to overturn the government.
Yes, because that's actually the original Sons of Liberty. That was kind of their mission. It didn't have anything to do with metahumans, but they did want to overthrow the government for reasons. So we're kind of taking a little bit of his kind of original MO and kind of giving it kind of a bit of a modern twist, where he's trying to accumulate power and influence, and his main beat is that these metahumans are nothing but trouble and they need to be controlled and regulated, which puts him at indirect conflict with Blacklightning, who has started this kind of metahuman crisis outreach team, who is, they're trying to help people deal with their powers and their abilities. And Councilman Harriman is very much on the opposite side of this issue. So
in short, Waller was right.
That he thinks so. He certainly thinks so. So
now, in this discussion they're having on this news show, there's this discussion about the idea of a Superman exception with regard to the metahuman community versus a Blacklightning exception. So can you talk about what that means?
Well, that's basically Josiah kind of basically pointing out that, according to Councilman Harriman, the only metahuman who is any good and can be trusted to, do the right thing and be above board is Superman. So he's basically...
Pause. This sounds like you being very subtle by making reference to, in essence, he's one of the good ones. Is that what you're trying to say?
That's actually exactly what we're doing. It's not very subtle. I mean, but that's essentially, Superman is one of the good ones, but the rest of them, we can't trust them. We can't deal with them. And Josiah is basically pointing out to people that, he finds it hilarious that he doesn't feel the same way about Black Lightning as he does Superman, where there's no there's no reason, he used to be like a school principal. He used to be a teacher. Like, what's wrong with Black Lightning? Like, why can't we trust him? But, we can trust Superman. So that's basically, he's just kind of making fun of him, like in a polite way, in front of everybody.
Black Lightning wears a mask, so clearly he can't be trusted.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm sure that's it.
I'm sure that's
the reason.
All right. So then, speaking of Black Lightning,
another great panel.
Oh my gosh, Fico knocked it out the park with this splash page. You can literally hear the thunder and lightning crackle. I mean, this word balloon of crackoom, it wasn't necessary. Was not necessary.
I know it wasn't.
Absolutely not necessary. The picture speaks for itself. You can literally hear it. I can feel the hairs in the back of my neck, figuratively, because it's bald, standing up from this energy. This should be a promotional poster.
That's what I said in the script. I said we need a poster-worthy image of Black Lightning, arcing from the background into the foreground and slamming down. And yeah, it was fantastic. I was very, very happy when.
Does Fico draw by hand, or does he draw by digitally? Do you know
what? I don't know. I'll have to ask him, because you want the original art. I'll ask him about it.
Brandon, come on, man. Why you put me on blast on air like that, man? Come on.
I'm telling everybody now. You might have some competition. I'll ask him. I don't know, actually.
All right. Well, get back to me later. Let me know. All right. Yeah. So, it's interesting. His daughter's in battle. His friend's niece is in battle. He arrives on the scene. He's a Justice League member. He literally left where he was before to come join this.
Yes.
Instead of joining the battle and doing the superhero thing, he decides to go help his daughter. Lynn had to kind of implore him to do it a bit, but he does without objection whatsoever.
Yeah.
In the first issue, the first couple issues, there's a lot of friction between Anissa and Jefferson about his superheroing. From her perspective, he prioritizes being a superhero and serving others over his family.
Yes.
And in this instant, he does the opposite. She begins to apologize when she realizes that, and appreciates the fact that he's trying to help her. And he is genuinely trying to help her. He's calming her down. She's about to explode with energy. Yes. And he's trying to calm her down. And he finally was getting to her. And as you can see at the bottom of the page, she's being whisked away.
Yes.
Talk about the dynamics of all of this.
This was the most important scene in the entire book. And I actually wrote this first.
Yeah.
So this was the first scene that I wrote in this script. This moment between the two of them, where they're finally connecting, kind of like in the way that she needs to connect with him. And she, to not to minimize it, but this is like the first moment in the entire series where she really has his undivided attention.
Right.
He's not being pulled away. Her sister isn't there. Her mother isn't there. It's just the two of them having this moment, and him essentially telling her that he still believes in her. And this is a big part of this is one of her biggest struggles, because she's ashamed of herself and she's disappointed with herself, and she's projecting those feelings onto her father, even though he doesn't share them. She believes that he is, essentially kind of looking down on her, or is disappointed in her, that her powers are essentially out of control and that she needs help. This is basically, and this is kind of a me thing too, where I, especially when I was younger, I still struggle with it now, but asking for help is still very difficult for me. It was much, much more difficult when I was younger. And this is something that she is struggling with, the inability to ask for help, because to her, it's an admission of failure on her part. Obviously, her father doesn't feel this at all. Her father just wants to help her and just give her whatever it is that she needs. And this is a moment where it's just the two of them. He's not being pulled away by the Justice League or her sister or other kind of responsibilities. And it's really the first moment in the series where they really get to connect. And everything is going great. She's calming down. Her power surge is kind of subsiding. And meanwhile, he kind of has like the Justice League in his ear.
Yeah, I mean that part I wanted to point out. You start out at the very beginning. Superman's calling him. Jefferson, it's Clark. Sorry to interrupt, but the teleporter is prepped if you need it. We can use your League ID card for a signal lock. Whisk your child away and bring her up to the watchtower.
Right.
And he's like, very calmly, not panicking.
Right.
We're fine, Superman. Stand down.
Right.
So he's cool. He's like, I got the situation under control. It's my kid.
He's like, I'm gonna handle it.
I got it. It's my daughter. I got it. No problem.
He's like,
I don't need it. I'm gonna handle it.
But they take that away from him.
They literally take that away from him by beaming her up.
Yes. And then she automatically believes that he essentially kind of set her up, that he was basically kind of
handling
stalling so that she could be kind of, taken out of a situation where she could endanger other people. And so the Justice League, trying to help, basically have taken this moment between the two of them and destroyed it and tainted it. So now she's even more upset at him than she was before, because she believes that this moment that the two of them were having wasn't actually between the two of them. It was between, her and him in the Justice League. So, it was a great, it's one of those things where you don't like doing it, but you have to do it. You kind of
it was drama, man. It was full drama. These are like real.
You have to do like kind of bad things, to the characters, and this was just kind of one of those situations where I had so much fun writing this little scene between the two of them, and then have to kind of rip it away from them. It's just like, oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, Nessa.
Well, what makes it great is that this is real family dynamics.
Yeah,
I mean, it's done on this fantastical, speculative fiction genre, but these are real family problems and real dynamics that you're showing. So it resonates more.
Thank you. No, I really love this scene, and I wrote it first because I knew it was to me, it's the most important scene in the entire issue. So I wanted to make sure that it was kind of right before I moved on to anything else. So this entire thing, from the moment where Lynn comes in and she basically kind of grabs Jefferson's attention because he's just running around trying to figure out who to save. This is basically where I started this script here, because I wanted to make sure that this scene had all of the space that it needed. So I didn't want to write towards it and risk losing a page or two that this scene actually needed. So I wanted to make sure this scene was written and that its page count was locked in place before I went and did anything else. But yeah,
That's
it's a
very-
really I really loved it, and it really worked. It did what I wanted it to do.
I agree with you that it's the most important scene in the whole book, because it's also a culmination of the ongoing storyline, the sub storyline between the dynamic of Jefferson and Anissa over the last couple issues. This was the sort of culmination point of all that.
Yeah.
For those who are watching, please hit the like button. I'm always terrible about this. Hit the like button if you're enjoying this video. Share it on your social media. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. All of the above costs you nothing, but helps our channel grow and helps us to keep bringing content like that to you. Thank you very much. All right. So, why was this the most important scene in this book? Beyond the reasons we just talked about, is because of the effect of ripping away a man's child as that child is in crisis, and thereby robbing him of the ability to take care of his own child. That's in essence what happened, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Let's just say he's mad.
Yeah, he's big mad.
So, what's angrier than an angry black man? An angry black dad.
Yes.
Right? So you see him stormed up, walking into the watchtower, stomping into the watchtower. I love how, Fico has his hands balled up. You're big mad when you're walking and your hands are already balled up.
That's how I described it. I said there you can't see all of it here, but I described that when I said put the camera on Jefferson's back, and just from like the muscles in his back, we can see how tight he is. We can see how pissed off he is just from how his back and shoulders, look, and how the muscles are flaring. So I wanted, exactly this. I was like, when he, because it's kind of like a flip. So the last page, the camera is directly on him, and he's kind of looking up in the sky, essentially towards the watchtower. And then the very next panel you see, the camera is on his back, and he's basically stomping through the place. And you can just see from the muscles in his back and shoulders that it's like, uh-oh.
Now Fico took your advice of showing his backside a little too much. He's got this butt shot. I'm not certain what.
It's a little.
I don't know what the gratuitous butt shot is for.
Yeah. I mean, he just, he
I mean, all right.
He draws everything. Let's just
he draws everything for everybody. All right. So as I said, you have what's angry than an angry black man is angry black dad, and so you have another brother trying to calm down, like, yo, bro, like, yo, don't go in there like that. Calm. He's like, no, I got it.
Yeah, Mr. Terrific tried to.
Mr. Terrific already sees a brother in crisis.
But he wasn't having any of it.
He knows that look. Mr. Terrific's trying to calm him down. He's like, nah, I got this.
Yeah.
I told y'all to stand down. And there's a triumvirate, right?
Yep.
There's the Trinity.
Yep.
Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. That's the pinnacle of superhero dumb in the DC universe.
In the DCU.
The three most powerful or most influential superheroes in the DC universe.
Yep.
And you see him looking, as you said before, sort of looking up at them. This angle that you have Fico has him at, you see him kind of in the shadows, and he's kind of looking up at them because it looks like they're kind of standing on a stair or a dais or something.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, Jefferson, we're sorry. We'll explain to her what happened. Like, and tell her what? You gave up on her, that all she is some type of threat? And this was fine. I was talking to my daughter. We were working it out. And they try to explain it to him. It's like, look, perception's everything. If you had lost control, given what happened with Amanda Waller and absolute power and all that stuff, it would have been a bad look for the whole superhero community. We're just trying to help, man. We're here for
Right.
you. And he's trying to think about it. He's rubbing his head. He's like, yeah, I mean, I kind of get it. And, he's starting to process it and think logically. He's like, yeah, maybe I see where you're coming from.
He's starting to calm down a little bit. He's
but,
trying to, okay.
But who has to poke the bear? Is it Superman, the most powerful man on Earth? Is it Wonder Woman, the most powerful woman on Earth? You know,
yes.
Wonder Woman's talking to him, but then they start going into condescending mode, right? We know what's best for you. I mean, we see what you're trying to do, but, you know, we decided this is what's best.
Right.
You know, hey,
and most importantly, they wouldn't let him see her. That was basically the thing. He's like, all right, fine, whatever. I'll go explain it to her. And they're like, nah, you know what? Maybe you shouldn't do that right now because, you know, she's kind of pissed off at you. And we don't want it to be, you know, this whole thing. Then it turns into another thing.
I love this line. I'm her father. I'll explain it to her. Unless that's not what you decided already. Batman's like, careful. Even Superman's like, dude, what are you doing?
Just stop.
Bruce,
why is it always you?
why are you poking the angry black man with electric powers?
It's always you.
Why, Bruce? So Superman immediately goes, Jefferson, please. We'll figure it all out. He's trying to calm him down. Wait. You're trying to handle me? You're trying to tell me how to raise my own child? Is that what you're trying to do right now? So at least Wonder Woman and Superman are trying to reason with him, calm him down. But Batman, the least powerful dude in the room, Batman's superpower is that he's got cojones bigger than anybody else.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to tell me how to raise my child? Why are you trying to help do my job as a parent? Because she's dangerous, Jefferson. Just like you. And he looks him dead in the face as he says it too. Right? Batman dead ass looks the dude in his eyes and he's dangerous, just like you. It's like you almost want to see him go like, what? What's he gonna do? What, son?
Here's the thing. This scene was great.
It was
because first of all, this is like maybe the second version of this scene that we did. The first version, it was it was kind of like, okay, maybe the Justice League is being a little too harsh. Well, when I wrote it the first time, I kind of made a mistake, and here's like the secret of like these kind of scenes. If you make Batman the asshole, it always works. That's kind of like the trick to a scene like this. But in the first version, I did it incorrectly, and I kind of made Superman a little bit of the asshole, and so we had to do another kind of take of it. And when I did it the second time, I mean, it's pretty much what it is, but it's just some of the dialogue is kind of like moved around, and Wonder Woman's lines are a little different, and there's a little more kind of like explanation from the Justice League in regards to what they were like trying to do. And you know, the secret is that any like stupid asshole thing you need said, as long as Batman says it, then it works. So it was So that's kind of how I made this kind of work and kind of made everyone like super comfortable with the scene. It was like, oh, okay, yeah. I got it. I see where you're at right now. So that's kind of the secret. Like, just
I'm looking at this comment by Eclectic Blurry Nerd. What's his name? Eclectic Blurry Niche. Can Jefferson snuff Bruce, or does the Bat editor have to approve the sad rich boy being humbled? When you're writing a book that has the Trinity in it, each one of those characters has their own editor.
Yeah.
You know, each woman, there's a Wonder Woman editor, there's a Batman titles editor, there's a Superman titles editor.
Yeah.
Do you have to consult with them if you say, hey, can I have Batman get his ass kicked by, Black Lightning?
Kind of. Here's kind of what happens. Usually how it happens is I write the script.
Yeah.
And then when because the editors are constantly talking to each other. So when Marquise is in like the next meeting with like the Justice League group, he's like, hey, I want you guys to like check out, this scene that we have at the end of Black Lightning, and give me your thoughts, let me know if there are any, or if anything kind of conflicts with like what you're doing in the books. And it's not even that just happens normally, because sometimes you'll do something or you'll suggest something that will kind of rub up against something that's happening like in the main Justice League book. So it starts that way. It starts as just like, we kind of want everything to kind of fit together. But when you do use, Batman and Superman, your editor always kind of like gives their editors like a heads up. Like, I can't tell you the exact context of it, but Batman shows up again in a future issue, and we had to kind of change the environment that he was in, because like my script, I think, had him like in the original Batcave, but I think like he's not always in the original Batcave anymore now, so we had to change the location. So usually it's stuff like that. It's like, can we have the Batcave? Oh wait, there's we're out of the Batcave right now. So where is he now? Where can we put him? So it usually kind of starts as an extension, of that.
Right.
But yeah, usually if you want to just kind of like beat Batman up, you would have to kind of run that past
you got to get approval
and give them like a real good reason or a real good like rationale for like why that needs to happen. Because here's what it is. It's like, if Batman gets beat up, they want him to get beat up in Batman. They don't want Batman to get beat up in other people's books.
Yeah.
They want to be able to, they basically they have like the license to like beat up Batman first, if that makes any sense. Or like, if Batman gets beat up by, they want Batman to get beat up by like a Batman villain, not by like a Black Lightning villain or like Black Lightning himself. So it's like it's kind of just one of those things where the editors kind of like talk it out amongst themselves, and then they come back to the writers and they'd be like, okay, well, we can, we're still going to use this. So that's kind of how it happened in this. So the first draft I turned in, and Superman was being kind of like a little like overly harsh. And it's kind of like, we still want you to do this, but we want you to just kind of like file the edges off of Clark, like in this scenario, and kind of flip it in a different way. So then you kind of have to figure out how to kind of judo and kind of get around like the constraints that you have and still produce something that works for your story, and which doesn't kind of like, undermine or kind of bump up against things that are happening in other books with the same characters.
Yeah, I mean, this way makes more sense. Batman and Jefferson have had a lot of conflict over philosophical views in the past.
Yeah.
Superman
Batman and the Outsiders, so it made sense that he would be more than willing to take it there. Where Clark and Diana are just like, look, we understand We probably shouldn't have done that, but here's why we did that. And we were really trying to help you. And I know it doesn't feel that way right now. And Batman is just like, I said what I said.
He really is.
So he's literally like, like I said what I said. And that's it.
I ain't gonna front. Batman's one of my favorite comic book characters.
Yeah. I mean,
I love him for just for that reason. He's unstoppable.
Yeah, he's just that's just him. So it's it's but no, it's just like with anything, right? When you're playing in kind of like the sandbox, it's basically, it's just like sandbox rules, right? It's like you don't you want to kind of throw the toys around and kind of bury the toys and kind of mess them up, but you don't want to kind of like mangle the toy and kind of leave it in an unrecognizable kind of condition, like after you're done with it. So that's essentially kind of how it works. So, it doesn't ultimately, it didn't matter because the scene, still works great. And it's my job to like figure it out. Right. If I write a version of the scene, and because when you are writing, I'm writing Black Lightning. So my main objective is Black Lightning, right? I'm not here to serve, like Batman or Superman. There are other writers and other creators that are serving those characters right now. I'm serving Black Lightning. So I will always, just kind of push. I'll just kind of ask for what I want up front. And then I'll let them tell me, okay, yeah, this is cool. This is cool. We got this. We got this. Let's tweak this a little bit and make this a little more, like put the dirt on, you basically put the dirt on Batman. So in the initial version of this scene, I kind of made the mistake of kind of putting a little more dirt on Superman than was kind of necessary and probably smart. So, I put it on Batman, and it always works because he's that character. Him and Jefferson have a history where they've kind of been like either, butting heads or kind of figuring out like who's in charge. Like it's Batman and the outsiders, but Jefferson is running the team, but Batman is kind of in there, kind of like, well, I think you need to do it this way, or I think you need to go after this guy. So it just, it worked perfectly. It just worked perfectly to have Batman really just blow the whole thing up.
If we had taken this to its logical conclusion, if Black Lightning said, "You know what, Batman, I'm tired of your mess," and he charges up his fist and just punches him in the face,
right?
That would be a very short fight. I mean, Batman is Batman. I get it, prep time, all that stuff. But besides the fact that he's got probably an insulated suit, he's got an exposed face. Like
right.
Jefferson could literally just punch him in the mouth right now with an electric punch, and Batman be knocked cold.
Right.
Right. So that would seem like not much of a challenge. You know what would be a challenge? But Jefferson decided to punch Superman in the face. You could have done the easy road and had him knock Batman out and prove his point.
No.
But no. The black man's always got to ice skate uphill.
I put Superman in the first issue of this book for this page. That's why Superman makes this appearance, why him and Jefferson have that cool little nice scene in the first issue, because I knew at the end of issue 3, this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So he is Batman says he's dangerous. So now he's gonna prove it.
Oh man. Is Black Lightning
Clark catching strays? Exactly.
Is Black Lightning that dude? And he says it on the page. Yeah, I am.
I am. No, it was so. This was another fantastic page. We were just like waiting.
Oh, this is dope.
Just like waiting for him to get to this page, and it was just it's so great. It's fantastic. I just love it, and I love the fact that when you see the entire page, the like the title and credits and stuff are on this page too, and the title of this story is The Standard, and that's essentially what Jefferson Pierce kind of is to a lot of the superhero community. So I love the juxtaposition of that. You know, right. I love to have this page where he's about to swing on Superman, and then the bottom of the page says like The Standard, and it's just like, is this the standard? This is the new standard. Okay. So
you know what's interesting in this picture? Look at I'm always talking about Fico's artwork and the storytelling he does and the body work he does and how he places things. Look at Superman's hands. His hands are open. He doesn't have balled up fists. His hands are open. He's not trying to commit violence. He genuinely, if you look at the expression on his face, looks surprised.
Yes.
He has his hands up because he's taken by surprise. Like, I didn't think he'd try and swing on me. You know, I'm Superman. Nobody tries to take a swing on me.
And like, but that man can't stop talking. He just can't shut his mouth.
So I thought this was nice. This was a dope way to end this issue.
Thank you.
Which leads to the cover for the next issue.
Oh, one little thing about this, we had to do a little alteration on on this original shot because he was a little there was a lot happening kind of in Jefferson's front near the the crotch area, so we had to do a couple of retakes. They had
to de-emphasize some things.
Yeah, we had to smooth some things out, and then also, this is funny, we also had to move Clark's hand because Clark's hand was. This is the fun thing about comics. How you're doing.
Yo, what's your boy Fico doing, man?
Like, oh man, no, we need to move. And it was so funny because I didn't, Fico didn't see it. He drew it. I didn't see it. And then Marquise is like, fellas, listen,
it's bad enough you got the whole butt shot for just randomly placed, no story consequence whatsoever.
Yeah.
But then, all right.
Yeah.
FICO on.
I mean, the man draws everything. So he
draws everything.
Yeah. So Marquise is like, fellas.
This is not a black label. I can see Marquise be like, fellas, this is not a black label title.
Like, fellas. But neither one of us saw it. We were just jumping up and down over the page. I was excited about it, and Fico obviously was excited about it. He's just like, "Yeah, fellas, let's move Superman's hand, a little bit down from where it is now."
Fico knows what he's doing. I'm pretty sure he knows.
Yeah, he's it was great. But no, these are the little like funny, like quirky things that happen like when you're working on a book and working on a deadline, and everyone is kind of like in the zone and kind of just turning stuff in, and then you look and you're like, oh, we messed that up. Let's fix that before it's too late. But yeah, so this was a fun issue.
I get the feeling Fico knows exactly what he's doing. Honestly. He's just a wild dude.
He might have just been, see, every once in a while, you want to really make sure that your editor is paying attention. Like, you really want to make sure that like the stuff is getting read and reviewed and stuff in the way that you think will be helpful to the process. So, not to say that I don't know that he was trying to sneak that past him, but
Shout out to Marquise Draper for
Yeah,
saving us
Marquise.
that
He's
visualization.
great.
So
Saving our butts every month.
we often hear the phrase, "Let's keep that energy," right?
Yeah.
And I love how this final page here sort of leads to him keeping that energy for the next issue, because you can see
Yeah.
it just on this cover. That
Yep.
first cover, man. We
Yep.
talked about how that other splash page with Black Lightning come down needs to be a poster. This cover on the left also needs to be a poster.
We were
Um,
so excited about this cover when it
literally,
came through. And I think it was FICO's idea to put I can't remember if it was FICO or Marquise's idea to put the reflection of them in the glasses, but it was,
it
it
makes
was
the
so
whole picture.
great.
It makes the
Yeah.
whole picture.
Yep.
Right down to the details of the crackle of electricity in his beard, on his
Yeah,
face.
and the light, the lighting,
Yeah.
how the light is hitting the beard. It's just great. Great work by FICO and our colorist Ulysses.
Yeah. Then we've got the cover in the middle by
Karan
Ron Grant.
Oh, I'll be here all day. I've loved Karan's work for decades, since like Gazillion and Kaboom for Awesome Entertainment. So I've been a Karan stan for several years. I have like a ton of his sketchbooks and prints, and anytime he did a cover for one of my Catalyst Prime books, I think maybe like the 10th issue of Noble. And anytime I can get some, Quran artwork, I'm just like over the moon.
I am a proud owner of his original artwork from Titan's Beast World, Amanda Waller.
Ugh.
I have a splash page he has with all of the DC black superheroes in one spot on one page.
Yeah.
I've got that hanging on the wall above me. He's a fellow Jamaican, so I appreciate that too.
Yes, a fellow Jamaican, and he loves motorcycles.
Does he?
He does. He rode his motorcycle, I believe, from New York to San Diego Comic-Con one year.
Insane. That's insane.
Yes. Yeah, he was telling me about it at that show, and I was like, "You rode your bike all the way from New York to San Diego?" No, he loves them. Loves them.
Who did this one on the right? That looks like
that's Ryan Benjamin.
Ryan Benjamin. Okay.
Yeah, Ryan Benjamin is doing a bunch of Black History Month covers for DC, and this is one. He's doing one for us. I think he is doing a Nubia one.
Yes.
And there are a few others. I forget. There's a
lot of
them.
Dr. Midnight one, I think he's doing.
Okay.
Yeah, he's going.
This is his second cover for us. He did the variant cover for, I think, issue 2.
Mm-hmm.
He did a cool, family shot of Black Lightning and his daughters.
All right. So what can people expect in issue 4?
Well, no spoilers, but I'll say that issue 4 is basically like the next panel. So there's no I didn't want to do those ridiculous, I didn't want to do like an aftermath thing or like jump forward and then flashback. When you open issue 4, the next panel is the next panel. So that's kind of.
I hope and pray you do not fake me out by having him stop his punch. I want to see the end result.
You have to see what happens. There's a couple of cool things to it.
Yeah.
And issue 4 is a huge issue for him and Anissa. So big issue. I'll just say the only thing I can give away is that for the time being, Anissa is going to be on the Watchtower.
Okay. And wait, is she going to be on the Watchtower also in the Justice League Unlimited series that's going on now?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know if Mark will, I don't know how that kind of where the Justice League is, but for a little while. Let's just say she's going to spend a little time on the Watchtower, and a couple of critical things happen to continue her redevelopment and her journey.
Now there's another issue after issue 4, right?
Yeah, this is 5 issues.
So when will you know if it's possible for us to get a series extension or something?
I don't know. I don't know the timeline on that. I just know that I am ready.
Look,
and they know that I am ready.
For those who are watching,
yeah,
if you would like to see an issue 6 or onward, please pre-order issue 5. I think it's too late to pre-order issue 4 by the FOC.
Yeah, it might be.
But if you can pre-order 4, pre-order 5 definitely, and order multiple copies.
And then also, I don't have a release date on it, but we will have a trade collection of the entire series and some other kind of Black Lightning stories filling it out that should be following pretty closely behind. So those are kind of the two things that they will be looking at.
So the trade will have some extra stories in it beyond these 5 issues.
Yeah, the trade. I wrote a Black Lightning story for one of the DC anthologies. One of the, I feel like it was like the Back to School anthology, and I did a story where Jennifer is basically asking her father to explain why he worked in Lex Luthor's cabinet as his Secretary of Education.
Yeah.
And so it's, I don't want to give it away, but it's basically, it deals a lot with Jefferson's kind of role as a teacher and principal and mentor and kind of example for, for young people and trying to be an example. And so I'm trying to get that story in, and there may be a couple of other stories that we're trying to get into to just kind of, fill it out, make sure we get a nice full healthy trade.
Let's get these things pre-ordered, everybody. Try to order some extra copies from some friends, for some kids. This is our last push to try and get this book extended, because Brandon's doing way too good a job for this to only be a 5-issue series, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
All right.
I just turned in a document that was called The Year Ahead. So we will see. So
speaking about what's ahead, even before issue 4 comes out, we have this book coming out, DC Power, The Rise of the Power Company. You mentioned before, you included in this current Black Lightning story, Josiah Power, and you talked about his significance. This whole DC Power, Rise of the Power Company seems to center around him. Can you talk? What can you tell us about this? Your involvement.
Well, I'm writing the framing story for this one shot. So I'm writing the kind of first chapter, and then there are other groups of creators that are writing other stories that are centered on some of the potential recruits for this new power company. And then after that, there's a concluding chapter that is dealing with Josiah trying to recruit Jefferson to this new team. He wants Black Lightning to lead this new power company. So that's why he's showing up in the main book. Jefferson is going to show up in this story, in the Rise of the Power Company special, and then the power company will have a full-on one-shot in April that's going to be written by Brian Edward Hill and illustrated by friends of the family, Kari Randolph, and I think Aletha is drawing part of it too. So
I believe Aletha Martinez is one of the artists on that as well.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. So that's kind of the trajectory. So we see Josiah for the first time in Black Lightning #3. And then you see him in the Rise of the Power Company one shot. Then he reappears in the Black Lightning series. I can't tell you where. And then there's a dedicated one shot in April. So it's kind of like a thread that you can easily follow. And this is another book that we also need people to support. And no, you do not need to read the first Power Company series to understand this new one. We are reintroducing him, his kind of MO, like what he wants. He has suffered a terrible loss during Absolute Power. His nephew Daniel lost his life during that crisis, and it has basically inspired him to re-engage with what is going on with the metahuman community, and to basically put his thumb on the scale and get involved again.
It's kind of interesting, his background. Was it Marquise that came up with the idea of using Josiah Power in all these stories?
Yes. This was this idea initially, I believe, started from Marquise, and he kind of looped me into this. Even before I was doing Black Lightning, we were talking about Power Company and trying to make it, another kind of pillar in kind of the modern DCU. And then when the Black Lightning series got greenlit, we decided that would be a good opportunity for the character to kind of make kind of like a reappearance there, and just kind of like have him pop his head up a couple of times in a couple of critical moments. And the reason why I can't tell you, he's in a very critical scene in the last 2 issues of Black Lightning. So that's why I can't tell you exactly where he's going to show up again. But
just for those who may not be familiar with the character, he premiered in JLA number 61.
Mm-hmm.
He was a very powerful lawyer. Started out as a prosecutor, then went to corporate law. Was literally in federal court. And similar to how Absolute Power caused the disbursement of powers to various people across the world, there was an alien invasion to Earth. And in the course of that, this metagenic wave, I guess, was released, which was designed to kill all the metahumans or superheroes. And sort of an effect of it was that it gave powers to a select few people on the planet. Josiah Powers is one of them. He was literally in court when his powers activated in the trial, and he did bad things. Basically, he hurt a lot of people, and it ruined his reputation, so much so they had to stop practicing law. So he decided to use his power set and his legal knowledge and his experience to open a company called the Power Company, which basically is for all intents and purposes a heroes for hire agency, but with more polish. He's very much in that regard like Luke Cage, but Luke Cage to the nth degree on a corporate level. If Luke Cage really tried to make money at it, he would be Josiah Power.
Right.
But
it's like if you kind of mash together like Luke Cage and Daredevil.
Yeah.
Some of their skill sets.
Very much so. With a little tiny sprinkle of Lex Luthor in there. Is probably the best way to explain. What was interesting is his power set, which is basically to take on elemental the earth. He has the power over the earth. Like he can turn himself into rock. Whatever he touches, he can basically kind of absorb. He can also absorb energy as a result.
He absorbs kinetic energy
and fling it back at people. He is. I think Superman has described him as one of the most powerful metahumans on the earth.
Yes.
So he's tremendously powerful.
You will get that in the one shot.
So the fact that that DC is giving him a push, bringing him back, that's huge. That's what we've been asking for all the time. Is people say, well, we need more black superheroes. DC doesn't need more black superheroes. DC has lots of black superheroes. They're just not using it. And I love shout out to Marquise for pulling him off the shelf, dusting him off, and putting him on center stage, because that's really all DC needs to do. They have a tremendous history of black heroes that just need to get their shine and a polish for a proper promotion, which is what they seem to be doing with this character, which is cool.
Yep. And if you look at the cast of the Power Company, you will see something very obvious
Really?
about a lot of the superheroes that are making up this this new team. So this is another book that, you know, we really need to get behind to show DC that there is a solid, enthusiastic market for not only these books, but for creators like me and Brian Edward Hill and John Jennings. I'm sorry, I can't remember everyone who has a story in the Power Company one shot, but that there is an audience for these characters written and whose futures and stories are written and determined by people that look like them. So, you know, it's twofold. It's two things that we're trying to do. So I really hope that Power Company does well. I hope Black Lightning gets extended and we can kind of start to kind of build kind of like this this umbrella under which these characters can, you know, kind of casually interact and have adventures with and help each other, both in kind of like a superhero perspective and from just like a human, you know, perspective. Like, I just want to see, you know, I want to see these characters just interacting and hanging out, you know, when they're not in costume, when they're not having fights, you know. I just like, I want the, you know, John Henry Irons just dropping by, you know, Jefferson's house, you know, every once in a while. Maybe they're watching a game. What I mean, just these normal things that you know, that normal people do. So
seeing us be us.
Yes, yeah. So it's very exciting to be a part of it, and you know, I'm really, you know, honored that I get to kind of start this ball rolling, and hopefully I can do some more interesting things with Black Lightning and the Power Company in the future. So we will see what happens. But I'm done writing the Black Lightning series. The last issue is being drawn as I speak. Issue 4 went to press, I think, a couple of days ago. That came out fantastic. That also has an ending scene that is going to be like a stand up and cheer moment for a lot of people. So you know, it's exciting. It's exciting to be in this position, and I'm glad that people are enjoying the work so far. We just have to, you know, get the work into the hands of, you know, even more people, and we can just keep doing more. We can build out that rogues gallery. We can do all of these cool things to leave these characters in a much better kind of place and position than they were when we started, which is always the goal. Like, you want to introduce, you know, a character or a concept or a new power set that, you know, will be picked up by someone else that, you know, that might not be you, but that's kind of part of how it works.
Well, let's. I promised everyone that we'd get to questions. Let's jump into our questions.
Okay.
James Tomlinson asked, "Any interest in doing a Black Manta book?"
I wrote a tiny little bit of Black Manta. Chuck Brown wrote that book while I was writing the other Aquaman based series that was about Jackson Hyde. And then out of those two miniseries, we kind of smashed all the characters together and did Aquaman for 6 issues that Black Manta was a pretty big part of. But right now, you know, I think they're doing some interesting things with him in either Aquaman or Justice League. So I think Black Manta does have some cool appearances coming up in some books, but not anything that I'm writing currently. But maybe if that maybe if Power Company, like if Power Company, if that went forward, I could definitely see like Black Manta having a cool kind of role in that book too.
He would be perfect for the Power
Yeah,
Company because the
yeah,
Power Company has a history of taking people that kind of borderline heroes.
yes,
They've
yeah,
taken
yeah,
people that were criminals and turned them
yeah.
into, heroes for
Try to
hire. So
reform them. I mean, I don't think Black Manta would be reformed, but I could definitely see him kind of showing up in a story arc and being kind of like the wild card, or they're on some kind of mission that they need his like expertise with. Maybe the Power Company needs to go down to Atlantis or something, but I think Atlantis is missing now. That's another thing too. Like, there's always things happening in the other books that have to be reflected in your book too. So I think Atlantis right now is missing. So the Power Company can't go down to Atlantis until it comes back. So little things like that. But yeah, Black Manta, I could definitely, like, I can already imagine like a cool role for him in the Power Company.
yeah, yeah. How much visual input for the villains did you provide?
A little bit. The Masters of Disaster were an older team. What we did was we changed some of the genders and kind of changed some of the races, because I think most of the original characters were white. So we kind of took the power sets and then we kind of combined them. There was like a fire character in the Masters of Disaster that we didn't use, and instead we used Volcana from the Superman animated series. That was another Marquise idea too. Like, he wanted to bring Volcana into the main kind of DCU, and so we decided to kind of make her the leader of this new version of the Masters of Disaster. So we kind of it's all like a collaboration. Like, sometimes the editor will have like the kernel of an idea, and then I'll contribute something to it, and then FICO will draw some things up, and then we'll get in a room and kind of decide like what's working visually and kind of mix up some costume elements and stuff like that. So it's a real kind of like collaborative process. When you're not creating the villains, like if I was creating the villains, like if they were completely original things, then I would probably have like a little more kind of like input into kind of more of kind of how they looked in the costumes and the power sets. But since we were kind of taking an older, already established group of villains and kind of revamping them, we kind of had some, parameters. Like, they had kind of powers that were, the elements: fire, water, air, earth. So that was kind of like the starting point, and then we kind of changed some of the body types and races and costuming and stuff, and kind of.
Eclectic Birdie Nerd has another question. He always has good questions. Normally, villains and heroes are model-like and athletic. Groundswell is full-figured. Were you aiming for a body type diversity?
Yes. What happened was, we have a lot of women in this book, and so it just became important for us to make sure everyone had like different body types or different hairstyles or things that would kind of visually distinguish them from everyone else. So that was something that was important to us. We did not want everyone to have the same body types. So that was definitely something that we talked about quite a bit.
Groundswell is thick. She looks good. For the end of the show, question Cyborg: is it too judgmental to wish that Jefferson's daughter had another hero name? Like maybe an African language word for lightning, asking for a friend. That's actually not a bad idea.
That is not a bad idea. That is something that, has been discussed, just because it would help to, just like we're talking about body types, something else that would help to kind of distinguish them from each other. So I would say long term that's definitely something, without giving too much away. If we got to keep right, doing this book and kind of playing around with these characters, that's definitely something we would touch up.
Marlon Williams, thank you for your super chat. Appreciate it. He says, outstanding work.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Pericles Dragon Balls asks, Brandon, I forget if this has been asked already, but do you hear any particular voices when you write these characters? Example, does Jefferson sound like Cress Williams in your head from the Black Lightning show?
Yes, definitely. There's usually this happens a lot, especially like with creator owned books, because again, I have like a little more control, so it really helps me to kind of think about kind of like what actor or athlete that we just want the character to kind of feel like, even if it doesn't look like the character, we want them to kind of feel like that. Like Isaac's mother, that shows up, I believe in issue 2, and she'll show up again before the story is over. You know, when I was describing her and kind of the vibe I wanted from her, I described Niecy Nash. So I usually do that, like when you're like creating an original character, and like he kind of feels like this, like even if he doesn't look like this person or this actor, like it should kind of feel like, feel like him. So definitely, definitely you have those voices that get like locked into your head. And then also what's really important for me is like the visual. Like I don't know if everyone does this, but I have this thing where anytime I'm writing kind of like a comic script and I'm imagining kind of what it looks like in my head, it always looks like the last artist I just saw. So whatever like comic that I last looked at, if I try to imagine a page, it will look like that artist's artwork, like in my head. So that's why every time FICO does a page, I actually print it out and I put it on the desk so that when I'm specifically writing Black Lightning, I can always look down at a piece of FICO's art. And so when I imagine, the page, it looks like he drew it. So that's kind of one of those, kind of weird things when I'm actually like physically writing it to kind of help me imagine like really like how it's going to look like once he draws it.
Mr. T versus Black Lightning could be just not really a question, but okay.
Oh, okay. I mean, he means Mr. Terrific, right?
Oh, Mr. Terrific.
Is that what he means?
I assume so, because
okay. I'm assuming he means Mr. Terrific. Okay. Yeah, could be. Could be. I could also see Mr. Terrific as another character that could show up in Power Company. And again, I just want to make this kind of commonplace. Like I want Jefferson to pass Michael, in the hallway, when he's not when he's not kind of all charged up on something. So
you can't check me, Dr. T. Could Jefferson have absorbed the energy if Anissa had exploded? That's a good question.
You know what? I never really considered that, to be honest. Here's the thing. Okay, without giving too much away about what Anissa's new power set actually is, what I'm trying to do is to make her power set a little more unique, but also a little more similar to her family members. And that's probably all I should say. I'll just say that part of Anissa's kind of one of her big kind of emotional hangups is the fact that her father and younger sister have the same power set. And because of that, she feels like their relationship is a little more kind of together and a little more seamless than her relationship with him is.
Well, that leads
without giving too much away, her new power set is similar to theirs, but also different from theirs. So it doesn't I know it doesn't make sense how it's a little similar, but a little different, but it kind of is. And that was the goal. So it's possible that he could have absorbed her energy, but for him, that wasn't going to be necessary. from his perspective, he was going to be able to talk her down. He was going to be able to make her understand that she could actually control this. And that was kind of like his perspective in that scene. He wanted her to believe in herself and to believe that she had the capacity to control it. And that was kind of like his goal. So it's possible that he could have absorbed her energy, but in that moment, that's not where he was. In that moment, that wasn't going to be necessary. That it wasn't going to come to that at all. So,
to piggyback what you just talked about, there's a slight additional spoiler to what you said. But it doesn't come from you. It actually comes from DC Comics.
Okay.
Here's the covers for issue number 5.
Yeah, that is Grace.
You'd already mentioned before that Grace was going to make a comeback.
Well, I knew, yeah, of course.
So that's Grace on the left. You see that same weird red sort of glow crackling around her on the left.
Well, we call that the Kirby crackle.
The Kirby crackle.
Yeah.
On the right, though, we're not seeing that. We're seeing on the pavement where she's stepping her foot marks. Her power set has always been one of strength and invulnerability. But you're wondering, why is it that when she's running, she's causing cracks in the street?
Well, there's one answer for that. There's there's the answer that we were trying to hint at something, but the real answer is that this variant cover was actually drawn very early in the process before we had kind of determined what her new power set was going to be. So you're kind of seeing kind of like a before and after.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought
so this cover was drawn kind of like with her original power set. And then this newer cover that FICO did is kind of hinting towards the new one. So it's kind of like a production issue. Like we weren't really trying to hint at anything, but it kind of works as a before and after. So it'll be awesome. Everyone will love it. I think I love it.
Damon Watson says, reminds me a little of the Storm cover with her and Rogue forming X. Yeah. That's from issue 3 of Storm. Yeah, it does kind of remind
me. But writing Grace and Anissa have like the coolest moment, and maybe in the whole story, but it's a really cool moment. Let's say I'll give everyone a hint about 5. Issue 5 turned out a little more sexy than I thought it was going to be initially, and I'll just leave it at that.
You're like
it's a little hotter than I knew it was going to be before I actually started writing it. So
what the heck's going on in comics? You're the second writer in the last 2 days who's talked about, I want to throw a little sexy in the comic books. I guess we will see.
It's a little, yeah. It's it works. Everyone will like it. We have to, we want to take advantage of some of these. We want to give like the full range of human emotions and feelings if we can, which sometimes you just don't have the space for with all the big, superhero battles. But there are a couple of really kind of, sweet kind of intimate moments between characters that happen in this closing issue that were kind of unplanned. And as I was kind of writing the issue, it was like, oh, okay, I think this really works here. So Grace's appearance is, is super cool, and I think people will like it. So FICO is over the moon, and it's not. I don't want to say it's all action, but it's pretty much all action. Like this fifth issue, it's pretty high octane the whole way through. So
say less. Here for it. It would be hilarious and epic if you stick to using a Wakandan word for lightning. That goes so many people's head. Don't get this man in trouble, Damon. Marvel will sue.
Well, if we keep going, we'll address that. We'll fix that.
She definitely needs her own name.
A couple of things that need to be fixed, and that's definitely one of them. And if I got the chance to do it, it would actually come from Jennifer. Like Jennifer will get to a point where she's like, I want my own like superhero name now.
Right.
Like, yours is cool, but I want my own kind of name and like identity and stuff. So, we'll see.
I almost want to say back when there was like a cartoon with Black Lightning and his two daughters, and they called her like Little Lightning or something like that. Like it was just.
Oh yeah.
She really.
Someone asked, wouldn't DC need to have the permission? Probably. That is probably true. That would probably be an additional hurdle. It would. I don't know how that works actually when superheroes change names, but it's the same superhero. So I'm sure it's been done before. So I'm sure there's a. I hope that there would be a good answer to that. So I don't know. We'll see. But I think for her character going forward, that's definitely something she would eventually be interested in, and that would probably be a good kind of entry, probably a good opening to do that.
I like Kevin Pitt's question. Do you think a Red Lion could make a Power Company appearance?
I would hope so. If we get more Power Company, we'll see. We need more. That's what I'm saying. We need more space so that we can bring in more, cool characters and do more cool stories. And, there's only so much you can do in one-shots and miniseries. Like the real work is going to happen, in like an ongoing or like a sustained, like maxi series, like 10 to 12 issue thing. So we need to get, to that point. We need to get to that, having that kind of commitment and that kind of space, because you learn, like my, Black Lightning 5 is better than, Black Lightning 1. Right. So, every time I write a script for these characters in this world, I learn more about the characters and about the world and how the stories are supposed to be constructed and what the characters absolutely will not do. And so, we just need the space to kind of grow and develop alongside these characters. And that's the goal, because the more Black Lightning that I have the opportunity to write, the better that it's going to be. So you just want the opportunity to get to, like a Black Lightning 7 or a Black Lightning 8 and just, imagine, how much better everything is going to sit and kind of work and seamlessly fit together. So
is it possible to get Jennifer a love interest in future issues? And I would add to that, and can it be the Signal?
Yeah. I love Duke Thomas. I will write Duke Thomas any day, anywhere. I love that character so much, and I'm so glad that he's going to be a part of this new Power Company. But maybe
Jennifer and Duke Thomas, that would be a cool couple.
I would love that. Think he
All right, so we have some suggestions for Jennifer's new name. Pericles Dragon Balls has umeme, Swahili for lightning.
Okay.
Pericles, why don't you look up the Yoruba word for lightning and tell us what that is? Sis Shadow and Shadow X says, call Jen Voltage. That's another contender.
Yep.
I Manifesto says, call her Spark.
Okay. All good ideas. We would have to like dig in the crates and make sure there aren't other obscure DC characters that have these names. So,
well, the name Bolt is already gone.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, Bolt is being used.
All right. Well, I think that's all the questions that we have.
All right. Cool.
Brandon, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. We'll be back next month for
we'll be back
issue 4.
Next month for
big issue, super cool ending, big moments, big development and growth for Anissa and the entire Pierce family, and more not Harriman, but more kind of Sons of Liberty, more kind of mischief, more Masters of Disaster, and some cool stuff coming.
Oh, Marwan says, Mana. Oh, I can't say this. Mona, Yoruba for lightning.
For lightning.
That might be a handful, a mouthful.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody watching, check us out Sunday night. We're gonna have Shadow Factor, another DC writer who's writing for Milestone on Shadow Cabinet. Joeillidge. Sunday night, 9 p.m. EST.
Joe, I call him Joe Ill.
Joe Ill. All right.
That's how he is on my phone.
Oh, there's one more thing.
Yeah.
Amuma, Igbo for lightning. Also another contender. So you have several names from the crowd for Jennifer as contenders. All right. Thank you all. Catch you next time. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you dig what we're putting out there.
And buy Black Lightning, buy Rise of the Power Company, and pre-order the Power Company Recharged one-shot for April.
And pre-order Black Lightning #5. Please get multiple copies of all these books. Buy all the variants. Get extra copies. Give them to a friend. Share the book on the social media if you can. Look, Black Comic Lords, it's not just us, it's all of us. It's you guys. We're all Black Comic Lords. So it's all our job to try and get these creators more work and get these characters more shine and into more books. And we can't do it alone. We need you guys to do that. So pre-order. Black Comic Lords, we got you.